Today we're talking about love hurts. Hey guys, everything I've got here is quality. I promise, trust me, honestly. I'd love it if you'd subscribe. So this is Amanda's story. She met and fell in love with this wonderful man. She walked around thinking how lucky she was. Her mum and brother had died early in the year, and there he was. In the beginning, she thought somehow her mum and brother sent her this wonderful man. He could help her through her pain and grief, and it was a great scenario for him too. She married him 15 months later, not really having an idea who he really was. Through the months and the years that followed, there were times she questioned many things, but love is blind, and she denied the red flags. She ignored them and always came back to, oh, he's a wonderful man. He kept her blind and seemingly happy with his deception. She kept herself blind with loving and trusting him. People don't blatantly lie, she believed. She never knew what was happening until it was too late. One day her life would change forever, the day she would lose all confidence in herself. That's the day she opened up a little G icon on her phone. It was Google Mail, something she'd never had before. A few days before, they had been celebrating their 3rd year anniversary at the timeshare. She could not get the Wi-Fi to work on her phone, so her husband synced it to his phone. It was the beginning of the end, but they had a good anniversary weekend. Monday came and her husband went off to work. This is the day that she found the G icon on her phone. The icon changed what she thought was this wonderful man and her wonderful life. What came up with this Gmail was a pouring of porn sites and chat sites, site after site. Women doing things she didn't know her husband was into. And if that wasn't bad enough, there was Match.com. She just kept looking at her phone, trying to piece together what she was seeing. Yes, it was his account. It was his name. She couldn't believe what she was seeing. She had to keep double checking. At first she was so shocked. Then she was mad. And then very quickly it grew to hurt. The betrayal she felt was really deep. She never knew her husband looked at porn on the internet, and especially not this sort of porn. It was just obscene, kinky, weird stuff. She started going through the mail too. The first site she looked at was the Cheaters site. On it, he had looked up 400 profiles of different women. He had emailed 88 of them and was instant messaging them 26. She started to cry as she read some of the things. He was saying to them how beautiful they were, how photogenic, how shiny and soft their hair looked, and how he wanted to get to know them. He asked them out for lunch and dinners. It's almost like he seemed desperate. He went on to say things to them that he used to say to her only years before. At the beginning, when he idolised her and love-bombed her with the same sentences that he's now saying to these young women. Each one of them got the same spiel. She can't even begin to tell you the pain that she felt at this moment. She had never felt anything like it, and that was only one site. As she waited for him to come home, she tried to put her thoughts in some sort of order, but mostly she just cried like she'd never cried before. When he came home, somehow she managed to read the things that he'd written to the women and their dialogue back to him. She's not even sure how she did it because she could barely breathe and talk at the same time. She looked at him throughout her reading. He sat on the edge of the bed with a straight stare. He never once said he was sorry, and he never once consoled her. There was really not very much from him at all. Her heart was breaking like it had never before, and he sat there with an empty stare. She just couldn't believe that he had no empathy for her emotional needs at that time. What kind of man just sits there and doesn't tell you that they're sorry or give you some sort of reason. People don't treat their wives like this. They just spent a lovely anniversary together. She didn't know at that time, but she'd found out weeks later he was void of any guilt, empathy and remorse. He was a person who was a narcissistic psychopath. She found out that he'd been telling people he'd been forced into adopting her child. There was so much that she found out that was mind-boggling. This is the man that she met, fell in love with and married. He was a narcissistic psychopath. She learnt so much more. Things he had done throughout their marriage. Many affairs, he'd met up with many women. They all believed, once she contacted them, that he loved them. He'd led them on for years. She believed still, more shockingly, was the stuff he did when he left. Looking back, over the time they're together, she gets echoes and flashbacks, and she remembers going to her family and telling them that something was suspicious, and those red flags that she thought she'd seen. He was so charming though. Her family didn't believe her, and they dismissed all that she said. So now she's left alone, and the pain gets even deeper. She felt like she was going crazy. She realises she was gaslighted. She always questioned herself with the things that he said. She unfortunately pondered suicide. It's the only way she felt she could break this intense pain, because she honestly believed he loved her. No one around could understand the confusion and the deep pain that she was in. The betrayal from this man made her feel almost insane. She wonders will she ever feel okay? Will he ever stop? If she hadn't have found him, would he have just replaced her with somebody else and then abandoned her? He's now moved on, and he lives with another woman. In fact, he's lived with a few various women. He still charms them, and he has love projects. He collects, shelves and uses each one when he wants to.